Hey, YouTube should be with us now. Oh, now let's see what we got. We're running more or less alone today, I think. I think Steph on the road, so see. There. Beautiful. All right, let's see. There we are. See if I have anything tagged. I know I do. Something. Oh yeah, the aliens. Aliens.gov. So I guess the US government has just registered two new websites, two new domains. Alien.gov, like the two movies, right? Alien and Aliens. Alien.gov and Aliens. I don't know. What do you guys think? Little green men or little brown men? Or the other? I think personally, I'm going to go with little brown men. I don't think it's going to be the little green men this time, but could be. I don't know. Could be. Oh, the metaverse is shutting down. That's right. It's gone. Bye bye. Not that anyone ever really went there anyway. Only cost everyone collectively, mostly Mark Zuckerberg, $80 billion. CIA accused of poisoning the sky with toxins as files expose. Oh, secret weather control agenda, you say? But we always told the chemtrails was bullshit. All right, what's this? Documents declassified back in 03 discuss the controversial topic of weather modification. Oh, these are like, yeah. They're just looking for material, I guess. Although the resurfaced documents from 1965 did not mention the specifics of chemicals used in the experiments, they did discuss the need for more funding. The weather modification projects soon be used as a weapon of war. Yeah, I think this one's been known about for a while. I don't know why they're again just desperate for material, I guess. I don't know how that can be in this day and age. Get going on out there. Trans woman dressed up like the Blues Brothers murdered a millionaire developer in Los Angeles and got into a multi-hour standoff with the cops. Yeah, while dressed like a Blues Brother. Look at that glinting belt buckle. My goodness. Bizarre. The dude was like 95 or something. He was old, dude. Really old guy. Where's the age at? Yeah, 92. He was 92. Guy. He. I still don't. I'm not really clear on what exactly it is. He or she. Yeah, the guy they killed was the old guy. Very strange one. Ah, yes. Black MAGA. Here's a shining example. TikToker who pretended to be a Trump supporter, now, how long later? About a year later, has outed himself, claiming he scammed MAGA supporters out of roughly $30,000. And I know I've warned people about these these people before.
I
Here you go. Here's another warning.
I scammed MAGA for 30 bands. I got the money and ran. Charlie Kirk is dead now. Charlie Kirk is dead now. So we clap our hands and we do the money dance. Trump's a homosexual. Trump is a faggot for beefing with Iran. Why you trying to bomb Iran?
Yeah. Another reported meteor-like object in Dallas, Texas. Shit, girl. Come on, girl. Let me see that shit. I'm trying to take a photo, girl. My nails getting in the way.
Oh, it disappeared!
I don't know what the deal with these things is. They're like nervous. That's kind of weird. Odd. I think it's personally. I think it's Starlink launches. Aren't they having launches now? I don't know. Could be that. Could be a little green man. I'll post on Reddit about one in Maryland. Not sure if it made its way onto X or not. Okay, yeah, there's the...
meteor fell from the sky. The National Weather
That's the Ohio one.
Service put out this video of the fireball streaking across the horizon. You see it
yesterday. Yeah. Might have been the one I saw on Reddit. Might have been this same object. Not sure. It does say it was seen in parts of Maryland. So, all right. Is that it? Oh, hold on. What's this? California fraud stuff.
But you're also going in for home health care that's unnecessary, hospice care. John, California has 1/3 of, forget Los Angeles. The city of Los Angeles, the county around it, is 1/3 of all hospice centers in the entire country. Is everyone dying in Los Angeles? These are impossible numbers.
Damn.
Right? This is what we're dealing with.
That shit crazy. All right. I bet you D-Live people here. Go. Okay. Down we go. I don't know if we have anything here to pull from, but we'll look. We'll see. And then we'll just take a look around. I don't know. In fact, what's the White House up to here? What's the White House up to today? Vance delivering remarks. Yeah. Boring. Okay. Yeah. We'll find some stuff. Don't worry about it. We got this.
Let me be very clear. The SAVE Act is not a voter ID bill.
Yeah, yesterday. Now this. Oh, boy. I have not watched it yet. Heard the talk. Seen the talk. But there's a lot to mine here. Todd Blanche getting interviewed by Katie Miller. Stephen Miller's lady. including such topics as why haven't we seen charges for high-profile figures in America? Is Pizzagate related to Epstein? And did Epstein kill himself? Ooh. Somehow I'm guessing Todd probably brushes it off and lays it down. Oh, yeah, I want to know about that. Todd's conversation with Ghislaine Maxwell. And yeah, where is the video evidence? Uh-huh.
There's public reports that there's over 300 victims. 225 people have filed with Jeffrey Epstein's estate. There's another 59 who have settled. Overwhelmingly, they're minors between 14 to 17.
Yeah.
Why has no one been prosecuted except for Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell?
Well, so that's a great question, and as you know, and as everybody knows, Epstein was a disgusting individual who was investigated by multiple jurisdictions, the sheriffs in Palm Beach, the U.S. Attorney in Florida, the U.S. Attorney in the Southern District of New York. During those investigations, as the Epstein files have shown, law enforcement spoke with over 100 victims. So it's not as if victims were not interviewed or spoken with during those investigations. Epstein was indicted, obviously, twice, and then he died, and so he was never ultimately brought to justice in the SDNY. But why there's not more prosecutions is a reflection of a lot of factors that happened along the way. FBI investigated him twice. The New York State Police was heavily involved in that investigation. We have said...
Do you think the investigators covered it up? Given how many victims there are, surely, I mean, there should be more prosecutions and more charges than there are.
Well, look, the Epstein files are available for everybody to see. So it's not, so do I think there was a cover-up? No, I don't, but it's not just up to me. Everybody that's watching this, everybody that, the Epstein Transparency Act has now allowed us to release the entire Epstein files.
There's still 3 million held back, though. Not all of them are public.
No, they're all public. No, so look, that's not true. So there's a narrative that there's 3 million pages that are being held back. They have nothing to do with Epstein. So what we did to make sure we didn't leave a single page out is we over-collected. So for example, if it was you and we were doing the same thing on you, we would do a search of our databases of the name Miller. And so part of that collection would be Millers that have nothing to do with Katie Miller. And so that's not allowed to be produced under the Act. So by way of example, there was a prosecution in Florida involving an individual named Epstein at the same time as Jeffrey Epstein's investigation. He was a bank robber. And so we collected all these materials on that Epstein, which again, were not responsive at all to the Act. So every single page in the entire Department of Justice and FBI that has anything to do with Jeffrey Epstein has been produced, unless there was a legal reason to redact it, which is attorney-client privilege or something like that.
Multiple members of Congress, though, had said they'd gone to DOJ, reviewed additional case files, and then gone
Sorry, I had to go get my tea.
to the House floor. What files were they reviewing then if there was nothing held back?
Indeed.
So they're not reviewing any of those 3 million. What they're reviewing is, because we wanted to be as transparent as possible, we allowed members of Congress to review anything that was redacted. So if you don't like our redactions, if you think we're covering something up, if you think there's a victim, if you think that there's an individual that committed a crime and that
Pretty sure there was a victim or two.
which we weren't and we're not, you can come in and look at those. So they're not seeing anything the American public doesn't get to see as well, except for what we've redacted, which again, very limited to victim names and any applicable privilege. So attorney-client privilege would still be redacted. But again, that's not a cover-up. That's not keeping the names of some horrible individual from the American public. So that's what the congressmen and women that are on the floor talking about what they've seen, they're seeing the unredacted versions of what the American people have been seeing.
It's been widely reported that Jeffrey Epstein kind of used a ladder type to get to blackmail on his so-called friends, right? First it would be a massage, then it would be a younger girl, and so on and so forth. And there's tons and tons of video. Where's the videos then?
So, look, I don't know, and neither do you, and frankly, I don't know anybody that does, what Epstein did or didn't do beyond what the evidence is that we have in our files, which has now all been released. So
The look on her face there is priceless. Yeah. Well, let's keep going here. Oh, is there evidence Reid Hoffman, Clinton, and Gates have been to Epstein Island?
Is there evidence that Reid Hoffman went to the island?
yes, I believe so, yes. I believe he's admitted that he went to the island.
Is there evidence that Bill Clinton has gone to the island?
I'm not aware of that.
Is there evidence that Bill Gates has gone to the island?
I don't know that there's evidence that Gates went to the island.
Or the ranch?
Or the ranch, but look, there are records of that in the files, and so if the FBI has evidence of Bill Gates or Reid Hoffman going to the ranch or the island, it's available to the American people now. It's not.
You think you would know that? I don't know. Oh yes, Pizzagate.
The biggest conspiracy theorists you'll ever find. So when the Epstein story exploded,
Nice, Katie Miller.
online immediately connected it to the Pizzagate conspiracy theory about elite
She's a
child
Pizzagate gal. I like her.
trafficking rings. Did investigators check for any connection between Epstein and the Pizzagate controversy?
Well, when you say did investigators track, the Pizzagate conspiracy theory has been debunked repeatedly by law enforcement, not by me, by law enforcement. And I know that there's been a fair amount of searches around those certain terms.
Sure, it was
pizza
totally debunked. And then you look at what happened with Epstein, where a wealthy, well-connected man was actually trafficking underage girls in elite circles. And then you begin to think, maybe things aren't a real conspiracy theory.
Well, but again, the only thing we can
Bingo.
do in a conspiracy theory, Katie, is investigate. Okay, so it's easy to say on X or to say, I think there's an issue here, but how do we, let's investigate. So we investigated all the times that the certain buzzwords associated with Pizzagate were in the Epstein files, and you can do the same thing. And users
I've read
out
all
there
the
can do-
pages.
and
I've read all the pages.
many of those, at least as far as my understanding is of the conspiracy theory, don't line up with the conspiracy theory at all. If all of them, frankly. But so I'm not sure. I am aware that the word pizza is in the Epstein files, among other
It is.
things.
Do you think those are codes for what he would do to underage women?
No.
Along with ice cream, beef jerky. I don't know, some other shit too.
You don't believe ice
Maybe he just liked beef jerky. I like beef jerky's good. It's cool.
cream is a coded word for something else?
Somehow I don't think that was what that was, but
I'm not saying ice cream is never a coded word for something else.
Do you believe in the files it refers to something sexual related to underage girls?
I think there was all kinds of references to to underage women in the files, which is why Epstein was such a disgusting man. But that's a different question.
but did he encode any discussion with coded language about it?
Whether I believe there's any validity to the Pizzagate conspiracy, I do not. And my basis for believing that is not independent. It's the law enforcement around the country that keep you safe and keep me safe, not just the FBI, but state and local law enforcement, other federal agents.
Oh, Mr. Blanche.
So it would be the most massive, you'd like conspiracy theories. That would be the biggest of all, because it would mean that state,
you
and
bet.
local, federal, not just DOJ, not
You
just
could sell me
FBI.
on this.
What's that?
You could sell me on this one. I can be bought on this one.
Let's go. Let's go.
Another theory is that Epstein is well
Wait, what did she say?
connected. I can be bought on this one.
Let's go. Let's go. What's that?
You could sell me on this one. I can be bought on this one.
Let's go.
You could sell me on this.
Biggest of all, because it would mean that state and local, federal, not just
what?
DOJ, not
You
just
could sell me
FBI.
on this.
What's that?
You could sell me on this one.
Saw me?
I can be bought on this one.
Let's go. Let's go.
No idea.
Another theory is that Epstein is well connected to foreign intelligence services. Do you have any evidence of him?
Are there still files under seal?
a court order somewhere in the country?
No, there were a small tranche of
Oh, you can sell me like SELL. Sell. Ah, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I got my speakers turned down a little bit to prevent it from hitting the mic.
materials that that the FBI had acquired from a civil case involving Mr. Epstein and a victim, that we had to go back and get permission from the judge late in the process to actually release those. We received that permission in early February, and those have been released as well.
As I've said, I'm the biggest conspiracy theorist you'll ever find.
Yeah, we heard that part. Was Epstein a spy? Yes.
Another theory is that Epstein is well connected to foreign intelligence services. Do you have any evidence of him being a spy or a plant for another foreign country?
No, there's no evidence of that. And we did look at that extensively, not only this administration, but every administration that's been involved in Epstein could look at that. And there's no evidence that he was associated with, well, let me just not say there's no evidence. The evidence that people say exists does not point to him being any part of foreign intelligence. Now, as I will say repeatedly, I did not know Epstein. I was not part of those investigations.
Well, like, how did he get that Austrian passport?
So I'm answering your question based upon what
An Austrian citizen?
I know, based upon my investigation
No.
as a deputy attorney general for the past, 11 months or so. So, but from what I have seen in the files and from what I understand happened during all the investigations, there's zero evidence of that.
Is there any connection between Jeffrey Epstein and P. Diddy?
Oh.
I do not believe I've seen that, but I can't say I've looked at all 3 million pages, but I'm not aware of any.
Here's an interesting one.
One of my concerns is
Not expecting that one. Okay. P. Diddy.
that when you have this many high-profile people and that no one understands how Jeffrey Epstein truly made his money, you're going to sit here and come to conclusions of logical blackmail and documented blackmail in this case, especially as it relates to potential videos of underage women that you guys haven't found. Is the government covering up, or have people at times covered up parts of the investigation and possibly lost key details because of who these people are?
Not me.
question.
Not the Attorney General of our United States. There's no scenario.
Not me.
Not Director Patel. You're asking me to
Certainly not me. Oh, no.
speculate or guess about whether that happened in the past. I can't do that. I can only tell you what we know now. There has been no effort to protect a soul when it comes to their role, their relationship with Epstein. And, we do know how he got a lot of his wealth. And so it has been well documented and investigated by the SDNY, as you can see from the Epstein files that we released. So there's a ton of banking information that we have now released. And so anybody in this country can spend time investigating his wealth. There's a lot of unanswered questions. I could not agree with you more. But whether there's a cover-up, not by us. And by the way, there was a cover-up by Biden. You didn't hear a word about Epstein for 4 years.
Do you think that was critical time that was lost?
Well, the past
Uh-huh.
is always something that matters to an investigation. So of course it was. I mean, who's the only person to do anything on Epstein is President Trump. He was in office when the SDNY brought charges last time. He's the one that signed the Transparency Act. He's the one that told the Attorney General, myself, and the American people over and over again, I have nothing to hide, release the files. And so that's the truth, and you can't run from that. He's the one that said, from day one.
Thoughts on conspiracy theories. Are there any he believes? Are there any that he does believe?
I feel like I've grilled you sufficiently on Jeffrey Epstein for the next little bit. I do this often to Todd. For anyone who wants to know this is my favorite subject every time I see Todd Blanche in person in all public settings. Very
Go ahead.
loudly.
That's right.
Very
That's
true.
right.
We've spent the bulk of this interview discussing Jeffrey Epstein and my conspiracy theory surrounding it and others. What's your favorite conspiracy theory?
I am not a conspiracy theorist at all.
Is there anyone that's been proven true that you're like
Yes.
conspiracy theories don't exist?
No, I think the beauty of conspiracy theories is that the reason why they are so important to this country and even the Department of Justice is because you have to be willing to ask yourself, to check yourself and to make sure you're right. And so When I say I'm not a conspiracy theorist, it's because if you prove one right, then it's not a conspiracy theory. It's totally true.
Do you think DOJ has
A fair answer.
done a good job in their handling of the Epstein files, and even in terms of the communication to the public that led up to the files going public?
Yes. Look, and
All right. Let's keep going. I think that's probably most of the interesting ones. What else we can find here? Come on now. Okay. We go to some of the usuals here. Let's see if we can ground up. Oh my God. What the heck is that? Fair warning. I mean, just look. 4 Palestinian women reportedly killed in the West Bank after a beauty salon was hit by cluster munitions or debris from an Iranian medium-range ballistic missile fired towards Israel. Oof. That's a boo-boo. God, that's there's pretty much nothing left there. Oh my gosh.
وقع صاروخ في موقع صالون للنسوان. الإصابات يا عمي في إصابات وفي شهداء. وقع.
Wow. Gross. All right. Down the pile here. Oh yeah, looks like we got plenty to look into here. Doop 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 doo doo. Go to this morning. Yeah. Pick it up around here. Yeah, there we go. Democrats' purposeful DHS shutdown, Trump says, is causing chaos at the airports. Oh yeah. Shitty. These lunatics are being totally unreasonable in their radical left asks. They are fully to blame and must pay a big price for the good of our country in the midterm elections. Let's hope so. Senior Iranian official responsible for targeting U.S. leaders, including President Trump, killed in a precision strike, Israel says. Ismail Khatib oversaw Iran's global intelligence and sleeper cell network. Okay. That's who they got.
A senior Israeli official telling Fox News that Ismail Khatib, Iran's intelligence minister, was killed in a precision strike overnight. Khatib was responsible for managing Iran's global cells, these sleeper cells in countries around the world that even threatened U.S. politicians and President Trump. This official says this man had blood on his hands, American blood. They go on to say that Khatib was actually the only person to survive the opening round of strikes in Operation Epic Fury that killed Iran's supreme leader. 40 officials killed in around 40 seconds.
Oof. Didn't survive the second one. All right. Give me 1 second. I gotta hop over to another desktop here and pull over my coding window so I can code in the background. Here we go. All right. Oh. And good. Back to it. Air defenses over Dubai intercepting a new wave of Iranian missiles and drones.
So Iranian
Whoa, look at that.
missiles being
Quite a
intercepted
show.
over Dubai this morning as the regime retaliates after Israeli and U.S. forces decimated Tehran's leadership.
Yep, they're going for energy infrastructure, and Iran also hitting central Israel with dangerous cluster missiles overnight, killing at least 2.
So Iranian missiles being intercepted over Dubai this morning as the regime retaliates after Israeli and U.S.
Dang, buddy. Information from the IDF following the overnight strike that reportedly killed that guy, Khatib. Born in 2021, oversaw the IMI. Played a significant role in directing arrests and killing of protesters. Led the intelligence outfit's terrorist activities against Israel and American targets, or others. Okay. Deadline for either Paxton or Cornyn to either, or for one of them to exit the GOP Senate primaries passed, meaning both will advance to a runoff. Oh.
Gender and about
I guess that one's out the door.
other topics. And the amazing thing, it all came out one day after he defeated.
Tallarico.
Right.
Yeah.
He defeated Crockett.
So do you think that Paxton or Cornyn?
Related it all to Davy Crockett, do you think?
I don't think so. I'm going to have to do a DNA. I don't know if she's due 23andMe, but we could look into it. Paxton.
Check it out.
I will. I
think Davy would be honored.
I have a lot of free time.
Great frontiers.
So you're going to stay out of the primary then? Paxton, Cornyn?
No, I'm not going to say it. No, I want to do something. But the main thing I have to do is find out who's going to get the Save America Act approved.
Well, I guess Senator John Thune's kind of at a logjam.
Yeah, I know. Look, I think he's a wonderful person. Gender and about other topics. And the amazing thing.
Iranian state media reports that facilities in the country's natural gas sector in South Pars and Azaluya were attacked, without offering further details. No sound. Looks bad, though. I'm saying I wonder what would have happened if we finished off what's left of the Iranian terror state and let the countries that use it, we don't be responsible for the so-called strait. That would get some of our non-responsive allies in gear fast. Good.
In the current
Macron says France will never take part in efforts to liberate the Strait of Hormuz under current conditions, whatever that means.
We are not a party to the conflict, and therefore France will never take part in operations to reopen or liberate the Strait of Hormuz in the current context. We are not a party to the conflict, and therefore France.
Next. TSA officer and union steward is calling on lawmakers to leave their egos at the door and open shit back up.
The people that have the responsibility of bringing this to an end can do it today. Okay. What they need to do is, leave their egos at the door, get inside, and come up with a solution to the problem. Because we don't deserve this as TSA agents that are trying to keep the skies safe, but also the traveling public doesn't deserve this. And when you see people in lines with their children for 3-4 hours trying to go somewhere, and then they can't get there because the cruise ship has left because their flight was delayed, try to explain that to a 6-year-old, 7-year-old about what's going on. The people that have the responsibility.
Residents in Scottsboro, Alabama, greeted by large snowflakes. Look at that. Winter weather continuing to affect parts of the U.S. this week. We're getting it here. Not snow, but it's cold as heck. Hey, man. New images from CENTCOM. Every success we have begins and ends with our people. Nice photos. Awesome photo. Look at that. That's fantastic. Okay. Iran hit hard. There's more of that South Pars fire. Yep. Look at that. Cover the New York Post today. Help wanted new Iran leader. Sure, this guy's alive. Or great, I guess. Or
Certainly, this was a known terrorist, and U.S. intelligence, combined with Israeli intelligence, our great partners in this effort, is the best in the world. And of course, this man is no longer with us here on Earth, and that's a good thing for the United States, and it's a good thing for the American people who have long been threatened by this rogue terrorist regime. We're now on day 18 of this operation, and some updated numbers for you from CENTCOM this morning. We've now actually struck more than 7,800 targets, more than 120 Iranian naval ships are at the bottom of the ocean, have been sunk by our great military. So the objectives of Operation Epic Fury have been clear from day one, and the sheer lethality and power of the U.S. Armed Forces is on display every single day as they continue to meet these objectives and obliterate the rogue Iranian regime and their ability to threaten the United States of America, our allies, and the Middle East. Certainly.
good, very good. All right.
Director of National Intelligence will be testifying this morning. Does the president still have full confidence in her?
He does, yes, and we look forward to watching the director's hearings today. And I think that anyone who has been suspected of leaking or is proven to be a leaker will not be welcome in this administration. I know that for a fact because I've heard the president say it myself. There are investigations underway into leakers in this administration, and people will be held accountable for that. It's unacceptable and it cannot be tolerated.
As usual. Tulsi Gabbard, the director of National Intelligence.
Dang, bro. Wonder who? Wonder who be leaking? Trade Rep Ambassador Greer.
I think when we look at the trade policy, what we've done is we have flipped the direction and the trend in the trade deficit. Our trade deficit with China, I mentioned earlier, has gone down by 30% over the past year. And some people will note that Chinese goods can sometimes come in through third countries, and while that's true and we're focused on that issue, our trade deficit with the rest of the world since last April has gone down by 17%. So overall, it's going down. And when that happens, it means that we're making more here. Over the last quarter, we had huge imports of capital goods. So even to the extent we are importing, that profile is changing. It means we're bringing in capital goods, factory equipment, machinery, data center stuff, things that lead to production in the United States. Our manufacturing productivity went up by the most it has in years, and wages for manufacturing workers on the factory floor have gone up by 5% year over year. So all of this shows that the present trade policy is accomplishing exactly what it wants to do. We're exporting more, we're making more, Americans are producing more things, and they're getting paid more to do it.
On what?
I think when...
Has there been any movement overnight on behalf of our allies that has softened their position?
Go with probably not.
About going through the Strait of Hormuz?
Not overnight, but the president.
Yep, how about that?
And his team, especially Secretary Hegseth and Secretary Rubio, continue to be in touch with their counterparts in Europe and, of course, our allies in the Arab and Gulf region to step up and do more to help the United States in securing the Strait of Hormuz. This is to their benefit, more so than it is to the benefit of the United States. Thanks to President Trump, we are a net exporter of energy. We don't need the Strait of Hormuz for our energy here at home for the American people.
people, of course, we want the strait to be open for the global oil market and to stabilize prices and bring them down again. And we have options the military has options to continue doing that. But the president is right to call on our allies to step up to do more. You know, one of President Trump's guiding principles is fairness. And he has long called out NATO for being what he believes an unfair alliance for the American people, the American taxpayer, and our U.S. Armed Forces. You look at some of the trade deals with our NATO allies. The president has worked to renegotiate and reset those to make them more fair for the American people and American workers. You look at the fact that the United States has thousands of troops on our allies in NATO's soil. We're paying these countries billions of dollars, and our troops on their soil serves as a deterrent for them. And the president wants the American taxpayer and our American military to be treated fairly. He feels sometimes with NATO they are not, and he's right to call that out, and he's right to call on them to step up and do more, especially when reopening the strait benefits them even more than it does the United States of America.
We look at the trade policy.
White House press secretary again. We're on day 33 of the shutdown. Yep.
Well, unfortunately, we're on day 33 of this Democrat-led shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security, and they have been anything but reasonable. The White House has worked in good faith with Democrats and Republicans on Capitol Hill to reopen the department. We've offered them multiple binding and substantive offers to reopen DHS, including some changes to the way immigration enforcement in this country takes place, and they have rejected every single one of those offers. They've asked for concessions. We'll give them a concession, and then they say, oh, wait, that's actually not a real concession. So, unfortunately, these are people who are not negotiating in good faith. You actually had a Democrat lawmaker from Virginia yesterday say that this Democrat-led shutdown is, quote, hurting the wrong people. It's hurting the American people. More than 100,000 workers going without pay. This is the third time TSA agents have been impacted by a shutdown over the last 6 months because of Democrats on Capitol Hill. It's just despicable. President Trump has been clear since day one. Fund the Department of Homeland Security. Stop playing partisan politics with the American people's paychecks.
Acting TSA Deputy Admin Adam Stahl on the shutdown.
So we're continuing to see the impacts at airports across the United States. Last week, of course, 3 to 4 hour wait times. And so if Senate Democrats
Well, he stumbled into that role, didn't he?
don't come back to the table, we're going to continue to see these wait times continue to uptick.
I'm going to come back to the politics of this in just a second, but first I just want to get to what we're seeing. So the wait times, an hour or more around the country. You suggested that if there is no political solution soon, that you might have to shut airports down altogether.
Get it down.
What's the time frame on that? When?
So I was very specific. I said May, and for particular airports, particularly small ones. And I don't want to get into particular hypotheticals. We make these determinations on an airport by airport basis. But the reality is right now, like majority of Americans that are paycheck to paycheck, as the weeks continue, our TSA officers, as long as they don't get paid, they're going to continue to call out. They can't afford to come in, and they're going to quit altogether. And that's a serious concern, and that's going to continue to impact staffing airports across the United States. We saw this morning, of course, Philadelphia had to collapse lanes because of call-outs. And so the reality of the situation is this is going to get worse before it gets better if we don't see any sort of action from Congress.
Outside the White House here.
The president spoke on this a little bit yesterday in the Oval Office. He said he always thought Joe Kent was a good guy. Obviously has a commendable military record and experience. However, he was not someone who was involved in the presidential daily brief, part of the president's intelligence briefings over the last several months. Have not seen him here at the White House for quite some time, and the president feels it's deeply disappointing that after the president gave him an opportunity in this administration to serve the American people, that he would resign with a letter filled with falsehoods, accusing the president of the United States by being controlled by a foreign country. That's both insulting and laughable all at the same time. The president is the leader of the most powerful country and military in the world. Nobody tells him what to do. He makes decisions based on what's in the best interest of this country. The president spoke on this.
Their CRAM engagement over Baghdad. Yeah, this one's crazy. Dang. Huh. Senator Langford introduces Senator Mullen at his confirmation hearing to become the next DHS secretary. Right.
Thank you. Mark Wayne, proud that you're here. I get the honor of getting a chance to be able to recognize and introduce my friend, Mark Wayne Mullen, my fellow senator from the state of Oklahoma, and somebody that I've seen work incredibly hard to be ready for every single task you've ever taken on, and to be able to not only do it, but do it well. There are a lot of folks that think they know you. I actually get to know you, and I have had the opportunity to be able to serve beside you for now over a decade, and have seen your tenacity and your work effort. Folks may not know that the first time we really got to know each other, ironically enough, was around a natural disaster, a FEMA event. It was Briarwood Elementary in 2013 when a tornado came right through the heart of Oklahoma. You had literally just been elected a few weeks before that and had just taken the oath of office. The Oklahoma delegation all gathered together at the very tragic event there at Briarwood Elementary. And while we were meeting with the principal and meeting with teachers and families and walking through the debris field that was that elementary school, we turned around to be able to look for Mark Wayne, and for a minute we couldn't find him because in one of the debris piles there was water shooting out of the middle of it, and his plumber instinct said, I got to go find that and figure out how to solve that. And so while everyone else was shaking hands and meeting people, he was digging through the debris field to find a way to be able to shut off the water that was shooting through the middle of that destroyed elementary school. And I remember smiling and thinking, he's a guy that doesn't mind getting his hands dirty to actually go solve the problem. Where there's a problem he can solve, he's going to do whatever it takes to actually solve it. Mark Wayne grew up in a very small town in far eastern Oklahoma, ironically named Westville, in the easternmost part of Oklahoma. Just 1,300 people call Westville home. He grew up in a family of modest means. I think that'd be safe to be able to say. The youngest of 7 children in a family that just didn't have much. His dad ran a very small plumbing company that then Mark Wayne took on and grew into being one of the largest plumbing companies in the entire state. He married his high school sweetheart, one of the smartest things he ever did, at just 20 years old. And he and Christy have developed a family that is a beautiful family of 3 children they had naturally and 3 children they chose that they adopted and took them in. It is a remarkable family and a remarkable success that you have actually led through a lot of hard work and a lot of love and tenacity. He is a person of faith that is not afraid to be able to talk about his faith in Jesus Christ, but he's also a person who has deep respect for all people. Mark Wayne has served in Congress for 14 years, 11 years in the House of Representatives, 3 here in the Senate. He's passed legislation that he will now be charged with actually implementing it in the order that was actually passed. He served on the Appropriations Committee here. He's served on Armed Services. He's served on the Help Committee here, and he's done an incredible job in the work that he's done with Indian Affairs. He is somebody who has the rare gift of bringing people together on both sides of the aisle. And the one thing I would say to every single person on this dais, regardless if you're a Republican or Democrat, if you want to sit down and talk about an issue, he's glad to be able to talk about it and to be able to work it out, and has very good relationships in the House and in the Senate. And he is not afraid to ask questions when he doesn't know the answer and to be able to research things. He and I have often talked about being up late, both of us, working on researching through an issue to try to be able to learn more about it, because the crazy thing about being in Congress is you don't know everything. You got to do the work. And Mark Wayne is not afraid to do the work. Over the past year and a few months, we've seen incredible progress on our southern border. Our southern border 18 months ago, I think we forget what it looked like. 12,000 people a day illegally crossing our border, just being waved in. No vetting, no background checks, 12,000 people a day. That is not happening anymore. Our numbers are down on the southwest border 96%. So you walk into an agency that has finally restored some order to our southern border, but there's a lot of work still to do with FEMA, with other areas of Homeland Security, and a very large agency with 250,000 people that are actually under your leadership there. So I'm confident that you'll be able to take those things on. Not only am I confident, the National Border Patrol Council has already sent a letter in strong support here. And Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask unanimous consent to insert to the record the National Border Patrol Council, their letter of support, leadership of the Cherokee Nation, their strong support, and then my fellow Senator Katie Britt has an opening statement who I'd like to also submit for the record with unanimous consent.
Without objection.
Thank you. This is a person that actually lives what we affectionately call in Oklahoma the Oklahoma Standard. That when hard things actually occur, you step up and you serve your neighbor, and you find ways to be able to help people to do the hard things that have to be done. So, Mark Wayne, I appreciate your leadership. I appreciate your willingness to be able to step up in a season where DHS needs a leader to be able to step into that role and to be able to help our nation in so many different complicated areas, especially at a time when right now we can't even get funding to DHS. We've got to be able to have good, solid leadership there. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okie dokie. Mark Wayne Mullen, Senator Rand Paul here.
Good morning, everyone. I entered the Senate the same year that Representative Gabby Giffords was shot.
Oh, boy.
I knew that.
You want a cookie?
Then that the state of political rhetoric was encouraging violence. I think it's imperative now, more than ever, that the leaders in our country disavow violence and lead by example. Through the years, I've personally been exposed multiple times to political violence. I was in the right field batting cage when the crazed shooter unleashed nearly 200 shots at our congressional baseball practice. I'll never forget Steve Scalise valiantly trying to drag his body away as the gunman continued. Later that year, a Trump-hating felon attacked me from behind in my yard. I was just straightening up from picking up a tree limb. I was wearing noise cancellation headphones, never saw him coming. Running pell-mell down the hill. I was struck in the back. The force of the blow sent us through the air nearly 10 feet, down the hill until his shoulder impaled me as we hit the ground. 6 of my ribs were broken. 3 of the ribs were completely separated, such that for weeks, the ends of the ribs would grind upon each other. My lung was damaged. For weeks, I could inhale, but not have the rib strength to exhale. I developed 2 pneumonias. The pain was such that I could only sit up in bed by tying a rope to the foot of the bed and pulling myself up. But even then, the pain was that of 1,000 knives. Over the year of recovery, I began to cough up blood. I underwent removal of part of my lung. Complications led to an infection in the space between my lung and chest wall. I spent a week in the hospital having the infection lavaged every 6 hours through a chest tube. Recently, Senator Mullen, if you have time to listen, you were confronted by constituents that were angry because you voted against my amendment to stop all funding for refugee welfare programs. Instead of explaining your vote to continue these welfare programs for refugees, you decided to transfer the blame. You told the media that I was a freaking snake and that you completely understood why I had been assaulted. I was shocked that you would justify and celebrate this violent assault that caused me so much pain and my family so much pain. I just wonder if someone who applauds violence against their political opponents is the right person to lead an agency that has struggled to accept limits to the proper use of force. You might argue you're mad and upset,
talking about Mullen?
confronted by your constituents.
Mullen said that.
Mullen, your constituents are justifiably upset with you. By now, most of America knows that the Somali welfare fraud in Minnesota stole over $9 billion. But instead of defending your vote, you took to continue the vote to continue these refugee welfare programs. You chose to lash out at me. You went on to brag that you'd already told me to my face that you completely understood and approved of the assault. Well, that's a lie. You got a chance today. You can either continue to lie or you can correct the record. You have never had the courage to look me in the eye and tell me that the assault was justified. So today you'll have your chance. Today I'll give you that chance to clear the record. Tell it to my face. If that's what you believe, tell it to me today. Tell the world why you believe I deserve to be assaulted from behind, have 6 ribs broken and a damaged lung. Tell me to my face why you think I deserved it. And while you're at it, explain to the American public why they should trust a man with anger issues to set the proper example for ICE and Border Patrol agents. Explain to the American public how a man who has no regrets about brawling in a Senate committee can set a proper example for over 250,000 men and women who work at the Department of Homeland Security.
Okay. Excuse me. Cotton jumping into the ring now.
I want to make 2 basic points this morning. First, the world is always a dangerous place, especially for America. But thanks to your agencies and President Trump's leadership, the world isn't quite as dangerous for Americans as it was a year ago. Thanks to the efforts of our military and intelligence personnel, including my fellow Arkansans who are now serving in the Middle East, the Iranian revolutionary regime that terrorized the world for 47 years is finally knocked on its back foot. Last summer, we devastated Iran's nuclear facilities. In recent weeks, we've eliminated Iran's top leadership, pummeled its military, sunk its navy, destroyed its missiles, neutered its proxies, and left its economy reeling. After 47 years of indecision and timidity, America has finally put our foot down. I'm also pleased to report that things have improved a lot in our own backyard now that Venezuela's illegitimate communist dictator, Nicolas Maduro, is rotting in a New York prison. Only the United States could execute a military and intelligence operation of this difficulty without a single American life lost. Our military is awesome, but these operations wouldn't have succeeded, and they probably wouldn't have even been tried without timely, accurate, and fact-based intelligence from your agencies. These successful operations are a testament to our intelligence professionals' ability to expose and uncover critical details about America's enemies. So let this be a warning to those who wish America harm. We leave no stone unturned, and there's no one or no thing close to you that might not betray you.
Indeed. Dramatic video, New York City. I assume yesterday.
What is that?
Attempted. Oh, this bullshit guy. This card. Who's that yelling bomb? And where is the bomb? Yeah, what? Like, where? Where is it? Doesn't appear to have it on him. Yeah, he dropped it back there, that's right.
Back up.
Jeez, man. Insane. Trey Yangst reports on devastating aftermath of an Iranian cluster munition.
You can see here the aftermath of an Iranian cluster munition impact.
Oof, yeah, look at that.
Just outside of Tel Aviv. 2 people were killed at this location. These small bomblets.
That's brutal.
It's exploding in different areas of Tel Aviv, raining down on the population below. You can see here the aftermath of an Iranian cluster munition impact just outside of Tel Aviv. 2 people were killed.
Yes. Enters the room and just takes out everything inside. Yep, saw this one. Polymarket set to open the world's first bar to monitor the situation. It's like a political and world news themed bar. I think it's actually a fantastic idea. It's a really great idea, especially for DC. More than any city out there, other than maybe, you know, a couple others in China and Tokyo and Hong Kong, I'm sure. This is a good fit for DC. Especially in the modern era of betting markets like Polymarket and Kalshi, where you can bet money on politics and sports and literally damn near anything. Anything you can think of. Weather. Bet money on weather predictions. Yep. This could get kind of interesting. I'm gonna be going to this. I'm gonna be checking this out. I think it's actually pretty interesting. Yeah. Especially if they actually do it up like this with like all these cool like customized feeds of, you know, different data feeds from different segments of industry and politics, and it's just really cool. Calling it the Situation Room. Great name. Fucking thing, man. I swear. How do I, like... On track phone, I have, like, a... spam service or something? Oh my god, this is insane. Never-ending spam calls. They don't stop, dude. Figure that out one later tonight or something. I don't know. Pissing me off all day. CENTCOM provides update on Operation Epic Fury. Pardon me. CENTCOM commenced Epic Fury February 28th. 7,800 plus targets struck, 8,000 combat flights, 120 Iranian vessels damaged or destroyed. Whole shitload of U.S. assets deployed, and a whole shitload of types of targets. To hear from Mullen here in a second. Now we get
Secretary of Home
Johnson.
To hear a different side of President Trump as well. Yeah. But I think also that'll serve you well as his Secretary of Homeland Security. But just tell that story.
Ron, I'm going to try getting through it without crying then. It's not about President Trump, it's about my son. So my son was a really world-class athlete, and January 17th of 2020, which mind you was an election year, he had a really serious brain injury. Woke up 26 hours later and he's a different kid. We almost lost him. For 26 hours, he had an extremely low pulse. There was a time they thought that they lost his pulse altogether. And when he woke up, he was just different. I mean, here he had a world-class athlete that wrestled all over the world since he was 12 years old, and he couldn't touch his nose. He couldn't walk without shuffling his feet. He had short-term memory loss. He couldn't control his muscles, couldn't add 5 + 3. He was in high school at that time, had to learn how to read, walk, everything. And the president found out about it, and he gave me a call immediately. And one thing that the president joked about was, like, he said, let me get this straight. He doesn't know who you and Christy are, but he knew I was, because the only question you got right is who the president was. And he said Trump with this cocky grin on his face. And but the president didn't understand the severity of it, but he heard it in my voice, and immediately he went to work. I told him we had to get to Bakersfield, California, to the Center for Neural Skills, which is one of the best neural rehabilitation places in the world. And the president offered us in his plane, his personal plane. This is the president of the United States. And I said, sir, we can't fly. We got to drive. We get there, and he called almost every day for 2 weeks checking on Jim. And then he says, I'm going to come see him. And now this is the middle of the election. This is Bakersfield, California. Really not an area he's got to go campaign. And he took the time to come up there and see Jim. And the senator told us that the short-term memory loss something would trigger it. Some big event would eventually trigger where he'd start retaining stuff. Until then, he was still having issues. And the president arrived, and of course there was cameras and everybody around, and of course none of the media ever talked about it, which was funny because the president called him on stage and talked to him. And then we went to the back, and the president didn't talk to me. He didn't know I was in, I mean, he didn't care if I was in the room. Here's a guy that's been over, and his tie is about as long as my son, because my son's, it stunted his growth, and so he's 5'3" the rest of his life. And his team came to him twice and said, sir, we got to go. We got to go. On the third time they came over to him, he looked at him and he says, hey, I guarantee you that plane won't leave without me. And for the next 15 minutes, he did nothing but love on my son. That one incident jogged his memory. And from then on, he started retaining things. And Jim's attitude went from this, we're going to get through it, to this, I'm going to get through it. And every week, if not most days, the president would call and ask how he could help. Ask how's his buddy doing? How's Jim doing? He didn't do it for publicity. He didn't do it for any show. He was running in one of the toughest elections he had been in, and the guy was still that concerned about my son. When we got released for a little bit, we had to go back. When we got released a little bit, the president said, come to Mar-a-Lago and see me. We go down there, and it's amazing. And when we're leaving, dang it, I hate getting emotional. See, if I talk about my kids, I get emotional. Other than that, you can't make me cry. But my kids can make me emotional.
That's actually a good thing.
Yeah. So anyways, he grabbed my son, and he said, do you know why I love your dad? Do you know why I love your dad? Chrissy tells the story better than I do. And he goes, no, sir. He goes, because he loves you. Because of you. Because of you. Man, he didn't do it for any other reason. I mean, here's the president of the United States, and he did it just because he cared. And so when you want to say why he's a friend, yeah, we were acquaintances before that. We've been friends ever since.
The American people need to hear that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Blumenthal.
Quite a story. I think I vaguely remember him posting some videos, I think around the time, talking about what happened with his boy and Trump. Here's another clip with him.
My goal is to make every one of you guys proud. My goal for those that don't support me, regret not supporting me. But we have to get DHS funded. We have to. My friends, we have to set the partisan side down. And we have to realize that we're putting our homeland and the peace of mind at risk for the American people. Sometimes it's political theater, sometimes it's true differences. But what we do know is that we're playing with fire. We have 280,000 DHS employees right now that are on day 30 without pay, and they're still showing up every single day to do their job. That is a dedicated group of people. And we should all be proud of them. We should all be working together, and we should all be trying to fund them. So I pray, seriously, I pray that we can get past this. That once this hearing is over and once we go through this process, I get it. I get some of it's got to be political theater. I understand it. I've had to really pray about my attitude. But I will say, once it's over, I hope we can work together and get them funded. So when I walk in, if I'm fortunate enough to be confirmed, if I walk in as secretary, that these guys are ready to go to work day one. So God bless you. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and I look forward to your questions.
No, Tulsi.
I'm here today to present the 2026 Annual Threat Assessment, joined by the directors of the CIA, FBI, DIA, and NSA. Before I continue, on behalf of the intelligence community, I want to extend our thanks to General Hartman for his 37 years of service in uniform and closing out his 37 years with tremendous leadership of the NSA. This briefing is being provided in accordance with ODNI's statutory responsibility. I'd like to remind those who are watching what I am briefing here today conveys the intelligence community's assessment of the threats facing U.S. citizens, our homeland, and our interests, not my personal views or opinions. In this assessment, we're following the structure of priorities that were laid out in the President's national security strategy, starting with threats to our homeland and then shifting to global risks. The defense of our homeland is of the utmost importance to the American people, and efforts by this administration have shown over the last year the results of bolstering homeland defense in the security of the American people. For example, the strict enforcement of U.S. policies at the U.S.-Mexico border and regionally have served as a deterrent, drastically reducing illegal immigration. Based on Customs and Border Patrol data, January 2026's monthly encounters are down 83.8% compared to January 2025. Encounters declined 79% compared to 2024. The drivers of migration are likely to continue. Potential worsening instability in countries like Cuba and Haiti risk triggering migration surges, and smugglers who have long operated as transnational criminal organizations continue to view chaos as an opportunity for profit and will continue to look to profit from illegal immigration flows. These transnational criminal organizations continue to pose a daily and direct threat to the health and safety of millions of U.S. citizens, primarily and directly by producing and trafficking in illegal drugs. Under President Trump's leadership, fentanyl overdose deaths have seen a 30% decrease from September 2024 to September 2025. President Trump's aggressive efforts to more directly and actively target these transnational criminal organizations and reduce the inflow of fentanyl precursors has already had a significant impact, which is likely to continue. We've seen fentanyl potency also decrease, likely due to disruptions to the production supply chain. U.S. efforts to work with China and India to halt the flow of fentanyl precursor chemicals to North America are demonstrating some improvement, but there is more work to be done, as sadly, there are still tens of thousands of fentanyl-related deaths in America every year. Mexico-based TCOs like the Sinaloa Cartel and Jalisco New Generation Cartel dominate the production and smuggling of fentanyl, heroin, meth, and cocaine into the United States. Colombia-based DCOs and illegal armed groups like the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia and the National Liberation Army are responsible for producing and trafficking large volumes of cocaine to the U.S. and European markets, with now some indicators of attempts to expand their market to the Asia-Pacific region. Colombia remains the world's largest producer of cocaine, and Colombian criminal groups have expanded their trafficking relationships with neighboring Ecuadorian and Brazilian gangs. As you know, MS-13 is well established in cells within the United States and uses violence to intimidate the Salvadoran diaspora, engaging in murder, extortion, retail drug trafficking, firearms offenses, and prostitution, fueling increased violence and instability. These and other TCOs continue to present a very tangible and individualized risk of violent crime to everyday Americans and contribute to regional instability. As the President increases his focus on counter-drug and counter-cartel pressures, they're likely to seek ways to try to adapt their operations, including shifting production locations and trafficking routes and methods. The IC assesses that China is the most capable competitor in the field of artificial intelligence. The IC assesses that AI capabilities are rapidly advancing and changing the threat landscape, as this is a defining technology that enables computers and machines to simulate human learning comprehension, problem solving, creativity, and autonomy. It will be critical to ensure that humans remain in control of how AI is used and of the machines that may threaten to autonomously violate the interests of the American people across all domains. AI adoption at scale across the spectrum of usage poses serious risks. AI has the potential to aid in weapons and systems design and has been used in recent conflicts to influence targeting and streamline decision-making, underscoring the risk and likely threats that could manifest on the battlefield. Early developers in quantum computers will give countries an extraordinary technological advantage over others to quickly process national security information and break current encryption methodology used to protect sensitive finance, healthcare, and government information. Fundamental change in the region. The IC assesses that Operation Epic Fury is advancing fundamental change in the region that began with Hamas's attack on Israel on October 7th, 2023, and continued with the 12-day war last year, resulting in weakening Iran and its proxies. The IC assesses the regime in Iran appears to be intact but largely degraded due to attacks on its leadership and military capabilities. Its conventional military power projection capabilities have largely been destroyed, leaving limited options. Iran's strategic position has been significantly degraded. The U.S.-led maximum pressure campaign and snapback of European sanctions added additional pressure to an already bleak Iranian economy, resulting in mass protests earlier this year that Tehran suppressed by killing thousands of protesters. Even if the regime remains intact, the IC assesses that internal tensions are likely to increase as Iran's economy worsens. Even so, Iran and its proxies continue to attack U.S. and allied interests in the Middle East. The IC assesses that if a hostile regime survives, it will likely seek to begin a years-long effort to rebuild its military, missiles, and UAV forces. Prior to Operation Epic Fury, the IC assesses Iran was trying to recover from the severe damage to its nuclear infrastructure sustained during the 12-day war and continued to refuse to comply with its nuclear obligations with the IAEA, refusing them access to key facilities.
Newly released photos reveal extensive damage at naval support activity Bahrain. Boo-boos here and there. All right, back to Mullins' hearing here.
You're going to walk in with a project going on with FEMA right now. Love to get your ideas and your thoughts. You're very familiar with this area and have great experience on it. What are your thoughts on how to be able to get FEMA into a better place so that people aren't waiting forever for a response?
FEMA was never designed to be the first responder. That's the states. FEMA was designed to be the assistance to the states when the disaster reaches certain levels, which we need to discuss those too, because I think some of the levels are unrealistic, especially Senator Hassan and I have talked about this, that sometimes in rural areas, they're not able to meet those thresholds. But working with the state, allowing the state to have their emergency response, FEMA simply helping write checks and assuring that they have the capability and the manpower if need be. But for the FEMA to walk in like FBI walking on a crime scene and taking over, no one's going to care more about their backyard than the people that live there in that state. And I think there's a lot of good ideas. I've heard at meeting with so many of you all, there were so many great ideas on how to make FEMA work better. It's got a great mission. And I think people at FEMA want to do their job, but we can be more effective and be more direct and speed it up. Taking years to get reimbursed is not acceptable. Taking, honestly, months to get reimbursed is not acceptable. These small municipalities, they can't afford it. They don't have that tax base to do it. And they're already going through a struggling time, which means they're probably losing tax revenue, especially if it hits their town. So we've got a lot of work there. I do believe that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. That means we're going to look at each one of the 22 agencies that fall underneath DHS and say, how can we deliver the mission better for the American people?
It's great. That'd be a huge help to everybody.
Oh boy, this loser.
I understand that during your staff
Blumenthal
interview last week, you said that there would be no more such break-in to people's homes without a judicial warrant. If confirmed, will you commit to me and the chair and ranking member of this committee and the American people that ICE will no longer instruct agents to break into people's homes without a judicial warrant?
Sir, you're using the word break into people's houses very loosely. However, I have made it very clear to the staff, and I think when you and I spoke, that judicial warrants will be used to go into houses, into place of businesses, unless we're pursuing someone that enters in that place. I have not mixed words with that, and I haven't changed my opinion about that.
A whistleblower testified to our hearing that, in fact, ICE agents have been instructed as part of their training to forcibly enter. I know you don't like the word break-in, but forcibly enter is breaking into somebody's home, bashing down the door, terrorizing children, instructed them to adopt this policy. Will you commit that no longer will ICE agents or CBP agents be instructed to forcibly enter people's homes without a judicial warrant?
Sir, I've already answered this question for you. I said we will not enter a home or a place of business without a judicial warrant, unless we're pursuing the individual that runs into a place of business or a resident or a house.
Senator Lankford.
Thank you.
Marco Rubio has imposed a $15,000 fee on visa applications from a dozen additional countries, mostly in Africa.
Our visa system, okay, who you allow to visit your country should reflect the national interest. We said that from the very beginning. It was one of the directives that we got from the president. It's one of the things he ran on. And so our visa process basically is, and there are some times we'll deny people visas because of activities they've undertaken overseas. Other times it's people that have visas but are in the United States doing things that run counter to our national interest. And the law gives us the right, and in fact, I would argue the obligation to remove people like that from our country. And we're going to continue to do it. I mean, it's as simple as that. I mean, sometimes somebody comes in and says, oh, I want to come in as a student. They're here as a student, and then once they're here, they're involved in nefarious activity. We're going to remove them from the country. But maybe they're here as a researcher. Maybe they're here as, I don't want to say journalist because you guys will get upset, but you know, it could be anything. You know, these are visitors to the country. A visa is a visitor. It's not a right. By the way, we deny visas every day all over the world. People will go to an embassy, they'll sit for an interview, and the consular officer will deny them a visa because of something that came up in their record, because of something that came up in their interview, whatever it may be. So if you have the power to deny someone a visa before they get one, you most certainly have the power to revoke it once they get one and then do something they shouldn't be doing. So there's a variety of reasons why visas are denied, but all of them are because it implicates our national interest or national security in some way.
Pretty good. Oh, yeah. Very good. Okay. Senator Schumer on the SAVE Act.
Is the most corrupt administration we have ever seen in America.
Oh, boy.
And the MAGA Republicans know it. They know it. And so they're so unpopular that the only way they can win in November is kick millions of people they don't like, off the voting rolls. They are trying to dupe us, folks. They are trying to dupe America. They say, oh, this is just a voter ID law. Bullshit. It is not a voter ID law. It is a law that will kick millions of Americans off the voting rolls. We know what happened. Their bill, they had to add this in, demands that every state turn over the voting rolls to the Department of Homeland Security, and we've had enough of them on other issues. And once they get that, there is a algorithm put in by Musk and Doge that would kick tens of millions of people off the rolls. They say they want to kick people who are not citizens, who are immigrants, off the rolls, but there's no evidence of any of that. It will kick millions of American citizens off the rolls. And they don't even require you be told. So if you voted at the same voting place and used the same voter ID year after year after year, you're going to show up in November if this law passes, and it won't. If this law passes and they'll say, Ms. Jones, Mr. Smith, sorry, you're no longer on the voting rolls. You said, but no one told me that. And then there'll be no way for you to vote. So I have called this act over and over again Jim Crow 2.0. And they hate it. I've gotten 50 million right-wing attacks on my email because I said it. And
on my email?
Attack it because they know it's the truth. It is Jim Crow 2.0, but it's spread across the whole country, not just regionalized. No driver, that you can't use a driver's license to register. You're a soldier and you've risked your life for your country. You can't use your military ID. They will make it will be easier in most states to buy an AR-15 assault weapon than
wrong
register to vote under their law.
That's a lie.
Can you believe that?
Total lie.
Says that China continues to rapidly modernize its military forces across all domains in pursuit of its goal to achieve world-class status by mid-century. This includes building a force with the aim of being capable of deterring U.S. and allied forces in the region, and to achieve their stated objective of developing the ability to seize Taiwan by force if necessary. However, the IC assesses that China likely prefers to set the conditions for an eventual peaceful reunification with Taiwan short of conflict. The IC assesses that China continues to rapidly modernize its military forces across all domains in pursuit of its goal to achieve world-class status by mid-century. This includes building a force with the aim of being capable of deterring...
Sorry, Tulsi. We heard you once.
In my confirmation, I promised you all, and you had all asked for, a more aggressive CIA, one that was focused on core mission, getting back to the business of stealing secrets.
Ratcliffe too, huh?
To be able to provide our policymakers with a decisive strategic advantage that would allow and advance and contribute to foreign policy and national security successes. To the credit of the CIA workforce, the CIA has delivered. Some of those successes have been very public. As you mentioned, Senator, Operation Midnight Hammer, Operation Absolute Resolve, flawless military operations like that are hostage to a flawless intelligence picture. And the CIA, as you know from classified briefings, contributed in myriad ways to the success of that. But what I would say to you is those successes are just emblematic of the phenomenal progress and success really by every measure, every metric, every standard across every national security space with regard to the work of the CIA. Senator, you mentioned some of it in your opening. The increase of our asset stable and our human sources up by 25%, our FI collection across the board, our foreign intelligence collection up by 25% overall, and in important categories like China, for instance, up 100%. In areas like tech and AI, up 45%. On the counter-narcotics front, our operations up by 70%. And with regard to counterterrorism, Those are classified numbers that I'll share with you in the classified portion of this hearing, but they're off the charts good.
Saying
Morning now.
the head of the National Counterterrorism Center resigned, saying that Iran did not represent an imminent threat to the United States. Is there anything to indicate that Iran had ceased in its nuclear ambitions or in its desire to continue to build ballistic missiles capable of threatening American troops and allies in the Middle East?
Senator, no. In fact, intelligence reflects the contrary.
So you disagree with Mr. Kent?
I do.
I would think any fair-minded assessment of the situation, even based on open sources, would reflect the danger Iran regime poses to the United States. The head of the National Counterterrorism Center resigned. The threat assessment says that al-Qaeda and ISIS maintain the intent to launch operations targeting the U.S., but it's most likely to occur through U.S.-based lone offenders. I want to ask you, Director Patel, it seems like there's been a raft of incidents recently. On March the 1st in Austin, Texas, where I live, a lone gunman wearing a sweatshirt saying "Property of Allah," and who the T-shirt he wore underneath had an Iranian flag, killed 3 innocent people and injured 12 more. And then we know in Virginia, the Old Dominion shooting, somebody who unbelievably was sentenced to 11 years in federal prison for attempting to support ISIS, but then was released only to commit another terrorist attack. We all are familiar with what's happened in Michigan, in New York, and I applaud the important role that the FBI has played in stopping some terrorist attacks, but obviously the FBI can't be everywhere all the time. Would you please talk about your cooperation and collaboration with Homeland Security investigations in countering terrorist attacks against the United States?
Thank you, Senator. Absolutely. It is essential that the FBI cooperates with the entire interagency. But as to your question about DHS specifically, what we have stood up around the country are 59 Homeland Security task forces in 59 separate locations.
These are joint terrorism task forces?
Essentially, the JTTF model was expanded. So the FBI owns 56 joint terrorism task forces in each of our field offices. On top of that, we have 59 HSTFs, which are co-led by the FBI and DHS. And what that allows us to do is things like we did down in New Orleans just over the holiday period, where we surged for a 6-week period of time, and where we dropped the murder rate by double-digit points, and also was the first time that Mardi Gras in its entire history had not one homicide. So when you bring the powers of the Homeland Security folks, DHS, and the FBI together, this is the purpose of it, to get after not just the terrorism threat, but the violence and the criminal activity in our cities. And that's why we're in 59 cities across the country, and it's working in places like Memphis and every other city we have it.
Are you aware of the fact that Homeland Security investigation is a major directorate within Immigration and Customs Enforcement?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And are you aware that Senate Democrats have uniformly voted not to fund the Department of Homeland Security, including Homeland Security investigations, TSA, FEMA, and other functions of the Department of Homeland Security?
Senator, I'm aware that employees of DHS are 1 month without pay.
They're not being paid, right?
Yes, sir.
And we were all seeing what's happening at airports, where people are having to wait hours at a time because of the fact that these TSA agents are overburdened. But what I wanted to focus on with you is,
here we are having to wait months at a time. Well, you assholes can't do your jobs.
Is the refusal to fund,
can't pass a simple frickin' SAVE Act. or any damn thing else.
The functions of the Department of Homeland Security, including Homeland Security investigations, making Americans less safe?
Absolutely.
Yep. Okay.
Director Gabbard,
Is that it's Collins?
you just testified that ISIS and Al Qaeda are significantly weaker. And reflecting that view, you have devoted declining budgets, personnel, and emphasis on countering terrorism. Yet, the fact is that ISIS is growing and operating in Somalia, Afghanistan, Syria, Pakistan, and Iraq. Al Qaeda is surging in Afghanistan, the Arabian Peninsula, and throughout Central Africa. The Houthis in Yemen and the rest of the Iranian proxies remain a serious threat. Focusing, as you have done, on great power competitors seems to have diverted resources from the fight against terrorism, a fight that's very much still going on. As I have said repeatedly, it is terrorists who want and can kill Americans today. We've just seen the terrorists in Michigan attacking the synagogue. In addition, it appears that a more stovepiped effort in the Intelligence Committee has returned. How are you ensuring that Americans are safe and that you are countering counterterrorism threats to our homeland and to U.S. citizens abroad?
Thank you, Senator Collins, for your question and the opportunity to clarify the comments in my opening statement. My reference to the size of ISIS and Al Qaeda organizationally is smaller and weaker than it was during its peak over a decade ago. However, I completely concur with your remarks about the threat of ISIS, Al Qaeda, and other Islamist terrorist groups around the world, and the threat that they pose to U.S. interest service members and directly to the homeland. Our ODNI National Counterterrorism Center has been at the forefront of ramping up, and I believe is more active today than it has been certainly in a long time. We are dedicating every resource that they ask for, as well as the counterterrorism elements across the IC, to make sure that we are never taking our eye off of this persistent threat to the American people. The change in tactics based on the current environment is something we continue to be most concerned about. Where increasingly we are seeing less indicators of large-scale organized complex threats or attacks, and instead efforts focused on individuals either who have been radicalized by Islamist propaganda and may not have ever had contact with ISIS or Al Qaeda, for example, and others who have had contact, of which we are able to have more indications of. This remains and will be, and as we come to present our budgets to you, a foremost and primary priority. The integration across the intelligence community on the counterterrorism threat occurs every single day, with our teams working very effectively together to thwart terrorist attacks as we have over the last year.
Oh yeah, they're doing the dislike button, huh? Gonna be a thing. Haven't seen it. Oh, look at that. Delete the X app. Oh, so it's only on the app, huh? Delete it and reinstall it, and it should be there. That's goofy. Okay. Oh, by the way, that's all training data. This doesn't actually affect the like count at all, just FYI. I don't know how widely that's known. But thing thought from one of X's engineers, chief head of product, Nikita Beer. Let me see if it's even still up. Here it is. It is literally a feedback button to collect training data from you. What you don't like doesn't affect the actual like count. It's literally just training their algorithms. Just that. More bullshit happening on the back end rather than just, I don't know, what you can see in front of you, like a like count moving down. JD Vance here. Around noon today.
Just backstage.
Michigan.
And of course, so many of you are the very people who work with your hands, you work with your minds, and you keep this great American renaissance in manufacturing going. The fact that we added over 2,000 manufacturing jobs in this state since Donald Trump became president is a testament to what you all make possible. Because across the street, we got Fanuc, one of the largest robotics companies anywhere in the world, and everything that you guys do every single day makes it possible for Fanuc to do what they do. And I love that connection. I love that synergy between American workers here, American workers across the street, building great robotics so American workers in Wisconsin could make things that they weren't making 2 years ago. And the reason that has happened is because Donald J. Trump decided that we were sick of shipping American jobs overseas. We were sick of shipping American industry overseas. We are going to build right here in Michigan, right here at home, right here in the United States of America, and that's what we've done. Democrats, they were two working class Democrats. They were patriotic. My grandfather was a union steel worker for pretty much his entire life. I don't think he would understand the Democrat Party of Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, because they don't celebrate American victories. They don't vote for lower taxes for American workers. They don't seem to be happy when America is doing well. And fundamentally, the reason I'm here is to get us to remember we've got an election. It seems like it's very far off. But the reality is, in just about 6 months, you're going to be asked to go to the polls, and you're going to be presented a question. Do you support the party that fights for fraud and illegal immigration, or do you support the Republican Party that fights for you, for lower taxes, and for good jobs right here in Michigan? Two working class.
Oh, better lump. What's he up to?
My experience with you
is that the Mullen thing
has been consistent kindness and professionalism. You know, the first time I met, it was you and your wife behind you when I was here at the orientation here in the Senate. And even before you got the call for the big job, you know, we were even discussing about getting together and having dinner as family. So that's an ongoing relationship, because that's also part of the fact here in this town, you got to get along and find a way to work together. And now we have to come at it and just let things go in the past for that. Finding a way forward, that's my responsibility to represent Pennsylvania.
What is he even saying?
And for you, I just want to thank you for showing up and
doing the thing. And yeah,
I'm going to engage, and I'm going to remain with an open mind throughout all this as I made to my friend here. And I'm going to do that. So thank you for bringing your family here too. And I look forward to hearing for the rest of my colleagues' views on you.
I look forward to hearing for the rest of my colleagues' views on you.
My experience.
How does he think this stuff sounds in his head? It's like bizarre. So weird. Never quite heard someone talk like that. Oh, cable car in Switzerland crashed and tumbled down a mountainside. Oh man, that sucks. Killing the 61-year-old woman inside. Oh, that's what a way to go. Yeah. Oh, you can see her like swinging around out of the thing. Is that what that was? Oh, gee. Yeah. Oh man, that sucks. Crazy. The top. Yikes. Catch me in one of them things. No, sir.
And what is really at stake in this election in November is fundamentally we've done so much good and we've built so much and we've been able to do a lot for the American people, but the Democrats threatened to take us straight back to where we were just a few short years ago. And we all know the economic statistics. We all know the fact that we felt it in our pockets, that everything from groceries to our home electricity bill was going up at a level that it hadn't gone up in 40 years under Joe Biden. But it's not just that. Because the American dream, my friends, as you all know, it's not just about going out and being able to buy something, as important as that is. It's not just about the economics, the dollars and cents, though of course we demand that our citizens become more prosperous. It's also about peace and security. It's about being safe in your own home. It's about what I think of as a classic American idea that just because you grew up in a poor family like mine doesn't mean you shouldn't be able to walk down the street in safety and security in your own country. And that is what Joe Biden and his leadership and Nancy Pelosi and all these clowns in Washington, that is the thing that they tried to take away the most from us. Where do you think the fentanyl that flooded our streets and killed hundreds of thousands of our citizens came from? It came from Joe Biden's wide open border. Where do you think the highest crime rates, the highest murder rates came from during that administration? They came from the fact that we went to war on the police rather than on the criminals who committed crimes. Where do you think the fact that we had elevated murder rates, not just in our big cities, but in our small towns, because we let in hundreds of thousands of violent criminals into the United States of America? So when I talk about the American dream, I mean, number one, that I want you to have a good job that pays you a good wage, that allows you to put food on the table, but also take a couple of nice vacations every year. But what I also mean is that we need to get the people who are making our cities less safe the hell out of our country and focus on American citizens first.
Yes. All right. Good. All right. We're getting login info. Azerbaijan has sent another 82 tons of humanitarian aid to Iran. Oh, man. Pallets of aid. Not cash. Well, I assume. I don't know what's in those boxes. Looks like some kind of drug. Electrolyte solution or something? Idea. Trump and Secretary of War Pete Hegseth boarding Marine One en route to Dover Air Base. Dignified transfer.
And the 6 airmen and women who were aboard a fueling flight over Iraq who perished last week are being brought home. Their remains. And sometimes he will talk. Let's watch.
Oh, there we go.
All right. So the president now is boarding Marine One to go on his way, and eventually will arrive at the dignified transfer at Dover Air Force Base by the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. The president is going to a dignified transfer ceremony, Dover Air Base, and the 6 airmen and women who were aboard a fueling flight over Iraq who perished last week are being brought home. Their remains. And sometimes he will talk. Let's watch.
NASA astronauts conducting a planned spacewalk. Hey. Freaky. Look at all them dead pixels, dude. Wow. Bunked up. All that radiation.
You are just in the final. Mainly use IROSA.
Come on. Give me some fun stuff here. Yeah, there you go.
And we did get confirmation that
Oh, look, you can see it on the mirror.
routed successfully for
the
the
Earth.
future IROSA installation.
Cool.
And no changes for me.
Excellent. Glad you guys are feeling good. Okay. We're going to step into the next phase here, so give me just 1 minute while I coordinate.
Wow.
All right, Chris, yeah, you've got the same thing that I had.
I do.
The recoil doesn't help, so if you loop the whole reel around your arm, I think it might help.
Wow.
Okay.
Two of them. Pinch has 16.6.
I see it now.
Drop a 43 in place, and that'll be 1 TA clamp per cable.
Sure, I see those.
Okay.
And TC, I'm at 2 Alpha 1.
Excellent. Okay, so here's the drill. You're going to release with the ratchet wrench.
Wow. I gotta walk him through it. Fully, step by step.
A-firm, yes. On the jumper end, I have the same config. I have pins, no FOD, good EMI band, and the receptacle still looks unchanged as the previous report.
Excellent. Yes, you have a go to me.
The dark. Wonder
In TC, I was able to see
how fast it moves.
other cap, and I think
we can.
They're in the light there, and then
Back to
in the dark here.
articulating portable foot restraint to.
It is in there, though.
Pretty wild. Okay. Yeah. Are people having issues with not seeing stars? Those are not stars that you're seeing. No. All this red and blue stuff is like fucked up radiation messing with the pixels and sensor. You don't have atmosphere to. I mean, you do have atmosphere. It's just so thin up there. It's not catching all the bad rays. So you don't see that here on Earth. It didn't mess up your sensor, but up there, I think that can a little different. You're not going to see stars in lighting like this. I mean, the camera is adjusted for daylight. That's the sun right there. So if you don't see stars here on Earth during the daylight, you're not going to see them in space during the daylight. It's just how cameras work. It's how your eyes work. Stars are way too dim compared to full sun. Cameras just can't capture that wide of a dynamic range. They're adjusted for bright sun, so all those dim little specks of stars in the background, they're there. They're just not showing up. And that is why you don't see stars in photos from space. Unless, of course, they're exposing for the stars. Like, if the sun isn't in the frame, and that's a different story. Then they can crank the exposure up and point it at the sky. And as long as there's no sunlight hitting anything in frame, then you can see the stars. But that's why you don't see it on like moon photos and stuff, because it's all in direct sun, all in daylight. Do you think it's okay for ICE agents to arrest people by hospitals?
Things here. A couple weeks ago, we had a hearing here, and I was engaged with the head of USCIS, and I raised an issue that happened in San Diego of spouses of military members and veterans. They were going in to get interviewed for a green card and were arrested upon their arrival. I just wanted to get your reaction to that. Like, is that the kind of behavior you think is acceptable?
Excuse me, repeat that again.
It was spouses of military service members as well as veterans. Their spouses were going and for the purposes of a green card interview, but were at that point detained and arrested on arrival.
Oh, and we are like a couple minutes over the top of the hour here. I didn't even realize it. Hi, Laura. How you doing?
I haven't heard about this.
I'm good. So you caught me off guard. I was off in my other screen. He was like, hello. I was like, oh my God, I'm muted.
Well, yeah, that went fast.
No, you're fine. Listen, I got 4 hours. You go on as long as you want to, Pam. I will sit right over here and just meander on. Don't let me rush you.
Yeah.
But if you need to go, I'm good. So it is. But yeah. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, good. That's good. And busy.
Yeah.
Been
Yeah,
a
it's been
busy,
been a busy few weeks.
It has been slamming around here for me. I ain't speak for anybody else, but for me personally, I've been quite busy. But it comes in waves. It's just kind of funny. It's like
How it goes.
dead quiet, and then all of a sudden it's just like, I swear there was a full moon. I look around and I'm like, what's going on? What is happening?
How it goes.
We'll get it figured out. Yeah, we get it figured out. I've been doing this 8 years. It's like a dance. It's like a dance. A lot of people, which is good. A lot of different opinions, which I love. If we ever became a monolith of everybody felt and thought the same, I would probably have been gone. I like the fact that people can have their different opinions.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it, it's hard to find that. That's what I've always
Not these days, yeah. You can't find it anywhere.
You're either going to get strictly left or strictly right. And here, it depends on the information with people. Sometimes they'll change their point of view, and sometimes they'll go back, and that's okay. That's how it should be to me.
Yep.
Evidence should be able to change your opinion, and you could be wrong, and you have to admit that. You could change your mind and be wrong. But I think you've always supported people having the right to change their mind or have their opinion. And that's why I've always been behind you, is because you've always been that way.
Always, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That's what I like.
Appreciate it about you.
Thank you. I appreciate that you appreciate that.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. I know how it works.
Yep.
But what do you got to do tonight? You got to go do some stuff?
I got some work I got to knock out in the next few hours, and then I'm going to try to relax.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, get you some rest. I shall be here. Hopefully, maybe Patrioski, and I posted in Discord that if anybody wanted to join me the last couple hours, they're more than welcome to. So if you find yourself itching to get back on air,
Cool.
It is open.
Well, if I finish up soon enough, I will do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying it. Clay and 70 are going to be out. Needed the night off, so I'm just going to be sticking around and open it up for people to hop on if they want to. The host. So there it is. All right, son. You have a good rest of your night.
I will. Yeah. Have a good show.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, YouTube people. I'm out. I will see you guys tomorrow. Kitty over there.